سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. حياكم الله, brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Today, inshallah, it's the second part of answering the misconceptions about the miracles of Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the non-Muslims, especially the Christians and the Jews, they claim that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have no miracles at all, especially in from the Islamic sources. And we explained in the previous class a lot of sources which is showing how many miracles the Prophet ﷺ did. And we mentioned, for example, just for example, because there were hundreds of miracles for the Prophet ﷺ. But for example, we have here, we mentioned the splitting of the moon into two pieces. This is according to what the Qur'an mentioned and what had been mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslims and Hadiths. And we mentioned the weeping of the trunk of the tree, and we mentioned the flowing of the water from beneath his fingers, between his fingers. And we mentioned the blessing of the food, we blessing the healing of the sick. We mentioned the healing of the sick. We mentioned the exorcising of devils. We mentioned the answering of prayers by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those miracles had finished. It's proved and it is documented in the Islamic resources, but it's finished. But we still have the most greatest miracle of the Prophet ﷺ, the most greatest miracle of Islam, which is, do you know what is the most miracle, the most greatest miracle of the Prophet ﷺ? Do anyone know? Yes, exactly, Qur'an. Qur'an is the greatest miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Qur'an is revealed more than 1400 years ago, 1400 years ago. Nonetheless, every letter, every word, and every surah is the same as it was revealed first time. It consists of 114 chapters, 114 surahs, dealing with evidence to the creation of the universe, guidance, Islamic law, and stories of the perished nations that disobeyed their prophets. This holy book, though, has been checked by critics over the span of history, remained unequally unshakable. Most of those who came bearing in mind to find faults with it embraced Islam and even began to call for Islam, subhanallah. The historical facts in the Holy Qur'an, when checked with the newly discovered facts, proved to be in consistence with science Scientists in all the different scientific works have found that Qur'an, though revealed over than 1400 years, is compatible with their sciences. The Holy Qur'an contains hundreds of scientific facts that, when checked by modern science, proved to completely in agreement with science. It is the book that will heal the humanity pains, renders solutions to its problems, and ends its spiritual troubles. To non-Muslims, I dare to say it's impossible to read and then you claim it's not God's eternal word. The Qur'an is a truly living miracle. Qur'an is a truly living miracle. Going deeper into it, one finds amazing characteristics from every perspective. For example, from the sides of the miraculous sides of Qur'an, Qur'an is a miracle for us. How is that? Looking back through history, it has been observed that the prophets sallallahu alayhim ajma'in were sent with miracles that reflected the society and knowledge of the people they were sent to. Thus Musa alayhi salam was sent with a staff that truly turned into a snake, baffling the tricksters, magicians of Pharaoh. Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, was given the power to cure disease and give life to the dead, astonishing the Jewish doctors who felt proud of their limited knowledge of healing and who had begun to disregard and deny the supernatural powers of God. Similarly, the Qur'an was an immediate miracle for the Arabs so many years ago, since it challenged and far surpassed the limits of their literary expression. Unlike the miracles of previous prophets, which were only applicable for limited time, to this day the Qur'an, the final testament given to the last Prophet ﷺ, is still a relevant miracle for humanity, and will remain so as long as the world exists. We live in an age of science and technology, of knowledge, logic, and reason. Yet, in spite of all the human advancement in every sphere of life, the principles of Qur'an have not been proven wrong, nor have they become out of date. Not yet. This is really the great miracle of the Qur'an. It has proven itself a timeless, universal message for humankind, relevant to every facet of our life, be it politics, economics, ethics, science, literature, whatever, all arts, or even entertainment. In fact, even non-Muslim scholars have admitted that the entire Western civilization today, thriving from the rebirth of humanity, would not have been so had it not been for the message brought by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As the celebrated English writer Robert Briffault says in his book The Making of Humanity, he said, "The ideas of freedom of all human beings of human brotherhood, of the equality of all men before the law, of democratic government by the consultation and universal suffrage. The idea that inspired the French Revolution and the Declaration of the Rights, that guided the framing of the American Constitution and inflamed the struggle for independence in the Latin American countries, were not inventions of the West. Were not inventions of the West. They find their ultimate inspiration and source in the Holy Qur'an. They find their ultimate inspiration and source in the Holy Qur'an. They are the soul of what the intelligence of medieval Europe acquired from Islam over a period of centuries through the various societies that developed in Europe in the wake of the Crusades, in imitation of the brotherhood societies in Islam, so associations in Islam. It is highly probable that, but for the Arabs, modern European civilization would never have arisen at all. It is absolutely certain that, but for them, it would never have assumed that character which has enabled it to transcend all previous phases of evolution. One of the miracles of the Qur'an, one of the miracles in the Qur'an, the Qur'an's literary excellence, the Qur'an's literary excellence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proclaims in the Qur'an, we have made the Qur'an easy to remember. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. In spite of the fact that it has an easily understandable style, it cannot be compared in any way with another book. This is one of Allah's great miracles. Those who doubt, in spite of clear proofs, slander the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ. Do they say he has invented it? أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ. Then produce a surah like it and call upon anyone you can. وَادْعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Call upon anyone you can besides Allah if you are telling the truth. Even though none could ever achieve this, the unbelievers could mistakenly consider it an easy matter. In Arabia, poetry and literature were highly developed. There were poets and fluent and eloquent individuals who used Arabic very well. Sheikh Badi' al-Zaman Sayyid al-Nawrasi said, a tribe's literary people were considered the people's greatest heroes, given the importance they placed on literature and rhetoric. The mu'allaqat, mu'allaqat, there was 7 odes written by 7 poets, were suspended in gold letters on the walls of Kaaba. Some of them were recited to the people on great occasions, such as the trade fair at Uqab, the market of Uqab. Even the Bedouins could recite poetry that was just as good as any composed by the urban poets. Whether their poems were material or composed in a free style, the people were moved. So, at a time when eloquence and style were well developed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Qur'an to our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It was not long before these literary individuals, even though their inner arrogance made them persist in their rebelliousness, noticed that the Qur'an was in literary terms a miracle. Qur'an was in literary terms a miracle. The Qur'an includes incidents that are means of guidance of people, allows people to recognize their own lower selves, gives information about the past and the future. Its richness is infinite and incomparable. In fact, this miracle is so great that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam to proclaim to those who were too arrogant to listen to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, قُلْ لَإِنْ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ بِمِثْلِهِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. Say, if both humanity and jinn banded together to produce the like of this Qur'an, they could never produce anything like it. Even if they bag each other up. وَلَقَدْ صَرَّفْنَا لِلنَّاسِ فِي هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَثَلٍ فَأَبَى أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ إِلَّا كُفُورًا. And we have spread throughout this Qur'an all kinds of examples for people, but most people spurn anything but unbelief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِعَشْرِ سُوَرٍ مِثْلِهِ مُفْتَرَيَاتٍ وَادْعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Or do they say, he has invented it? Say, then produce 10 invented surahs like this and call upon anyone you can besides Allah, if you are telling the truth. فإن لم يستجيبوا لكم فاعلموا أنما أنزل بعلم الله وأن لا إله إلا هو فهل أنتم مسلمون. If they do not respond to you, then know that it has been sent down with Allah's knowledge, and that there is no deity but Him. So will you not become believers? Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Do they say he has invented it? Say, then produce a surah. Subhanallah. Look at the challenging of the Qur'an. Qur'an is ordering them, if they doubt that Qur'an has been revealed from God, okay, produce one surah. First he said, produce Qur'an like that. Then produce 10 surahs like that. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is challenging them. Then produce a surah like it, and call on anyone you can besides Allah, if you are telling the truth. بل كذبوا بما لم يحيطوا بعلمه ولما يأتهم تأويله كذلك كذب الذين من قبلهم فانظر كيف كان عاقبة الظالمين. No, the fact is that they have denied something that their knowledge does not embarrass, and the meaning of which has not yet reached them. In the same way, those before them also deny the truth. See the final fate of those who do wrong. Unbelievers remain weak and powerless in relation to the Qur'an's excellence. Exactly. This is truth. No one has ever produced anything like it, and no one ever will. Of course, it's a challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the unbelievers' traps and roses designed to discredit the Prophet ﷺ and prevent him from delivering his message, whereas a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rendered ineffective. From the literary point of view with the Qur'an, our Prophet ﷺ gave the wisest response to his people's powerful and elaborate rhetoric, to their most famous poets and finest orators. Besides this, he proved himself superior to all literary people. No doubt this was one of the effective of the Qur'an's incomparable literary quality and wisdom. In response to the verses that the Prophet ﷺ recited, the Meccan polytheists were amazed themselves, the unbelievers, the Meccan unbelievers themselves were amazed, but in spite of their own certainty about them, some of them rebelled because of their pride and arrogance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَى عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you have doubts about what we have sent down to our servant, produce another surah equal to it, and call your witnesses besides Allah. فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين. If you do not do that, and you will not do it, subhanAllah, look at this challenging, you will not do it, then fear the fire whose fuel is people and stones made ready for the unbelievers. The great scholar Badi'u Zamani Sayyid al-Nawrasi interprets these verses in this way. He said, when the Qur'an came, it challenged at the same time the experts in these four fields. He challenged the experts in four fields. The first field, it made the people of eloquence bow down before it. They all listened to it with amazement. The second field, it stunned the poets and orators so that they bit their fingers in astonishment. Their most beautiful poems written in gold were given a blow, and the famous 7 poems that were placed on the wall of the Kaaba as an object of pride were brought down. The third field, it also silenced the soothsayers and magicians, made them forget about their discoveries of hidden knowledge, resulted in the expulsion of the jinn from the heavens, and brought the process of divination to certain end. The fourth field, it rescued from myth and fabrications those who were cognizant of the events of bygone times and the facts of cosmology, teaching them the real story of past events and the illuminating knowledge of the facts of creation. Thus did those 4 groups bow down before the Qur'an in astonishment and respect, and become its students. None of them ever dared dispute with a single verse of it. Subhanallah. Qur'an also is a miracle in its prophecies. Among other things, the Qur'an contains prophecies of future events, many of which have come to pass. We will produce a discussion of one such prophecy which was fulfilled within the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ. While the Prophet ﷺ was still in Mecca, after having been entrusted with prophethood and was being subjected to all sorts of persecutions by the Meccan idolaters, exactly at the same time that two great powers of Rome and Persia were involved in repeated wars. The Romans were beaten and suffered a great loss in men and material. At last, the Romans were so utterly exhausted that, far from being in a position to launch a country attack, they could not even take a firm stand anywhere. This situation was a matter of, jubilation for the pagans of Arabia, as they identified the Persians being fire worshippers with themselves, and the Romans as people of book with the Muslims. In their eyes, the dominance of the Persians perceived their own victory and the defeat of the Muslims. It was under these circumstances that these initial verses of the chapter called Ar-Rum, Surah Ar-Rum, were revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, Alif Lam Mim, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ. The Romans has been defeated in the land close by, or in the lower land, and after this defeat of theirs, they will soon be victorious within a few years. وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد ويومئذ يفرح المؤمنون. To Allah belongs the command before and after, and on that day the believers will rejoice in Allah's help. For those who were aware of the military situation concerning the Romans and Persians, this prediction was absolutely incredible. In fact, the Persians kept marching forward until they reached the city walls of the Roman capital, Constantinople. The renowned historian Edward Gibbon has commented on this prediction by saying, when this prophecy was made, no prediction could be more unbelievable, because the initial 12 years of Hercules were eventually declared an end to the Roman Empire. But exactly 7 years after his first defeat, those had been mentioned in the fall of the Roman Empire, the book of the historian Edward Gibbon. But exactly 7 years after his first defeat, the Roman emperor sailed forth from the capital and inflicted crushing defeats on the Persians at several places. And after that, the Roman armies were victorious everywhere. Meanwhile, a large number of Muslims had migrated to Al-Madinah, and their wars with the idolaters of Mecca had already begun. The day on which the number of Muslims was 330, ill-occupied 313 ill-occupied Muslims were decisively beating their enemy, 1,000 heavily armed Meccan warriors. At the battlefield of Badr came the news that the Romans had defeated the Persians. It was then realized that the Qur'an verse which said, on that day the believers will rejoice in Allah's help, was meant to denote the twin happiness of the Romans' victory as well as their own victory at Badr. Another fields of the miracle in Qur'an, another field in Qur'an is miracle in science and history. Apart from prophecies, the Qur'an has pointed out many scientific and historical facts which were not only known at that time but could not even be imagined given the development of civilization. Entire books have been written by the Muslims or non-Muslims as to the truth is expressed in the Qur'an. Again, we suffice here just two examples of the miracles, the scientific miracles and the scientific historical facts in Qur'an. The Qur'an has stated that as Pharaoh was drowning in the sea, he made a confession of faith orally just to save his life. In response, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الآن وقد عصيت قبل وكنت من المفسدين. What? Now? And indeed before this you did rebel and were of the corrupt. فاليوم ننجيك ببدنك لتكون لمن خلفك آية. So this day we shall rescue you with your body, that you may be a sign to those who came after you. At the time of revelation of this verse, and even centuries afterwards, nobody knew that the body of Pharaoh had been preserved, but it has been discovered only recently and is preserved in a museum at Cairo. Another scientific miracle, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And of everything we have created pairs that you may take heed. When this verse was revealed, the general concept was that male and female pairs existed only among human beings and animals or in some vegetation. However, with the advancement of science, the Quranic reality is becoming manifest that male and female pairs exist in everything. In some instances, they are termed as male and female, and elsewhere as positive and negative, as electron and proton, or neutron and positron. In another verse, the Qur'an has also clarified that the occurrence in pairs in many other things is still unknown to people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. Glorified be He who created pairs of all things which the earth grows, and of themselves, humans, and of that which they know not. Those are some of the miracles of the Qur'an. Those are some examples of the miracles of the Qur'an. Actually, the scientific miracles of Qur'an never end. The literature miracle of Qur'an never end. All fields, in all fields, Qur'an is a miracle in all fields of the life. So we just give some examples of the miracles of Qur'an that prove that the Prophet ﷺ had many miracles, and the greatest one is the Holy Qur'an. Barakallahu feekum. This is our class for today. I hope it was useful for you, and inshallah it's time for questions. If there is any question, inshallah we are going to answer it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.